Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. The time is 6:30 p.m. I'm John Dwanzik, and this is the regular meeting of the Avon Lake Board of Municipal Utilities. With me tonight in the room is the remainder of the board from my right to left, Mr. Ricky, Mrs. Schnabel, Mr. Rush, and Mr. Mondello. So we have a full board here tonight. That leads us to the voting in the meeting, which is takes a minimum of 3 votes to pass any motion. All votes are taken by voice vote, with the exception of a motion to go into executive session, which is taken by a roll call vote. Also in the room tonight, we have with us Chief Utilities Executive, Mr. Rob Monroe to my right, Chief of Utilities Operation, Mr. Greg Urinich at the table, and we have Mr. Bill Logan, who is the Business and Financial Coordinator near Mr. Urinich, and at the other end of the table, outside counsel, Mr. Anthony Coyne, and also with us tonight, keeping guard is Avon Lake Police Officer Fankhauser. There are no other people in the room at this time, but there is an opportunity for public speakers that comes up shortly. If you're online watching by way of Facebook or YouTube, you will be able to enter comments, and when the time comes, once in the beginning and once towards the end of the meeting, Mr. Urinich will monitor those and read them aloud in the meeting. That, I think, covers our normal perfunctory, unless Mr. Rush, I missed some.
I believe you hit all the points.
Okay, so that's good. So the first order of business following that is the approval of the April 1st minutes. Is there any comments on those?
The work session.
I'm sorry.
Regular.
April 1st work session minutes, and then April 1st regular meeting minutes. First of all, is there any comments on the work session minutes?
No, I don't.
Hearing none, they're approved as submitted. Any comments on the regular meeting minutes? Hearing none, they're approved as submitted. Gentlemen who just entered the room, would you sign in, please, so we know who you are? Mr. Urinich will give you something, okay? And let's see. I think that takes care of the approval of minutes. Next item on the agenda is public speakers. Mr. Urinich, what do you have?
No online comments.
No online. Sir, do you have any comments to make at this time? Okay. If you do, give us your name and address and all that kind of thing. Towards the end of the meeting, there'll be another opportunity to speak again. Okay. Let's see. Next item on the agenda is correspondence. What do you have, Mr. Monroe?
I do not have any correspondence this evening.
All right, we're moving right along then. Next item on the agenda is expenditures. Would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Ricky.
I move to accept the expenditures for March 28th through April 10th, 2025.
Would you say you move to
I move to
approve?
these.
Okay. Okay.
Expenditures.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Schnabel. Discussion.
I had a question.
Mrs. Schnabel.
I saw in here that, and I'm sorry, I didn't circle it, but we have our new billing system, Springbrook, right? And then is it MuniLink is the old, right? And so are we in that crossover time where we have like some double billing while we're making sure, and so we should see MuniLink drop off then?
It's going to be a while. I'll let Mr. Logan explain. We're going into kind of a lower
Transition.
tier that we can still have access to the system, but
Could address it now. I was going to address it, so.
Okay.
We'll
Either way.
Talk about Springbrook in general, so.
We can wait. That's fine. I was just curious when I saw, because I thought I remembered, that there was going to be a transition period where they're both billing. Okay.
Thanks.
Mr. Ricky.
Yes, number 33 on water fund or Fund 701 water. Somebody want to explain to me about that? What is it? Municipalh2o.com annual EPA RPM compliance.
RMP, risk management plan. Mr. Urinich will explain that. He knows it very well.
One of our favorite things. So because we keep chlorine gas, the liquid chlorine on site, we are required by the US EPA to maintain a risk management plan. Years ago, we had a couple of issues as far as meeting all of those requirements. It's a big binder that we keep documenting everything related to the maintenance of the equipment and the handling of the chlorine. So that is, hopefully, we're looking that to be the last time that we will have that fee. That's a third-party company that reviews all of our information prior to the inspection by the EPA to make sure that we are in compliance.
What kind of stuff do they inspect?
All of it. As far as maintenance,
Every piece
rebuilding of
chlorine
the
system.
chlorine equipment, all of the switchover gear, really everything to do with the
Okay, that seems
chlorine
pretty
on there.
steep for a checklist, $4,200. Okay, well, if that's what it is, that's what it is. All right, thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Ricky?
No, that's all I had.
Gentlemen, Mr. Mandela, Mr. Rush, I don't have any questions, so we can close discussion unless there's any late breaking comments. So all in favor of the motion to approve the expenditures, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
And they're approved. Okay. Next item is the operator and training item for the water filtration plant. And I believe that falls to the able capacities of Mr. Urinich.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. April 28th, we will have an operator in training beginning at the water filtration plant. He had reached out to us. We had had some conversations with him. He is actually making a career change. So he's coming in as an operator in training. He'll have a year to get the experience, take his test to get a Class 1 license. But it's an Avon Lake resident, Mr. Jeffrey Cheeky Jr. He will begin, as I said, April 28th at step 2, which is $25.88 per hour. He was really excited about this career field, and he's got a lot of relevant experience, not directly in water treatment. He was formerly in the Navy, had worked on the nuclear propulsion on an aircraft carrier. So a lot of the regimented things that we do at the water plant, we think will be a quick learning for him, and we look forward to bringing him on our team.
They have their own water treatment process.
A lot of
naval
similar
ships, so-
testing to make sure that process was following all their standard operating procedures. So
Okay. Well, it sounds good. How old a man, out of curiosity, roughly, we're not hiring or firing him. I'm just curious. to know how old
mid-30s, I
he is.
believe, mid-30s.
I would guess mid-30s.
Yeah, so just, he served his naval, commitment. Nice. Mr. Ricky.
Yeah, I just, getting that first opportunity that everybody that's been in the water treatment business has gone through is you got to start somewhere. And I think it's good that we are helping somebody get started, because you can't get your license until you have the hours of experience. So, you're like a dog chasing his tail. So somebody's got to give people a chance. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to help somebody. And this gentleman sounds like he has some relevant background, which really helps as well. But I think it's a good thing that we're doing, and that's not a bad way to bring in people too. Granted, he's got to work under somebody, but still homegrown is not a bad thing either. And I just commend you guys for picking up on him and bringing it in.
Hiring a veteran.
Hiring a veteran as well.
And I would just add to that, Mr. Ricky is this operator in training, the OIT. We've actually had several candidates. The Toledo area, Metropolitan Area Council of Governments created a workforce development program with Cook Owens Community College
Yeah.
up in Toledo
Right.
area, and it's water and wastewater operator curriculum.
Really?
And it's a workforce development program. It's the first one in the state, and they're just now starting to get their first graduates that'll be graduating in May, and we've had a few that have reached out to us. So we potentially could have a couple of other operator and training candidates, and so we're optimistic.
Well, that's, like I say, I think it's a great thing to do. And like I say, bringing them up in our system can do nothing but benefit us.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ricky.
Mhm.
Any other comments on that item? Okay, thank you, Mr. Urinich. The quarterly financial report. This is the big feature tonight. It's accounting, right?
It is. It's
Okay.
fine.
It's not quite economics, the dismal science. It's accounting,
Keep
the
it very short.
dismal profession. So, Mr. Logan, would you like to introduce your topic and tell us all about it?
Sure. This is just a quarterly update through March of this year. I think you've seen these types of financial statements before. The last year, we did them at the end of the year. I've actually been doing these statements in Excel from our financial system each month. Just thought we'd give you a little quarterly update. The first couple pages of this is just some verbiage, talks about the highlights, just a little summary. I don't plan to go through every single number. I'll certainly address any questions, but I did want to point out a couple of things. One is that, we're now 3 months in and using these new funds that the board had set up at the end of last year, the sewer collection fund number 722 and the water distribution fund number 723. So you'll see more expense and revenue in those funds as we go on. Certainly the 701 water plant fund and the 721 water reclamation facility fund are also in the statement. So those four funds I'm considering the major funds, and we'll always kind of show the financial activity on those. Another thing I'd like to just point out, we've still got about $22 million sitting in Star, Ohio. We've got total fund balances at the end of March of about $28.5 million. By the end of the second quarter, by the end of June, I'd like to see us with the finance department transfer a little bit more money to Star, Ohio, maybe another $3 million. I think we should be in good position to do that, as long as we maintain around $3.5 million or so in our Huntington account, then we should be fine with that. From an overall budget variance standpoint, nothing is really, pointing out anything negative or positive variances either way. We're really right on with pretty much all the expenses, the revenues. Water revenue's been a little bit higher than budgeted so far. Compensation, which is the largest expense that we have, the city has as well. We're pretty much right on. We knew we were going to have a couple of large retirement payouts. We had one that was in February, a little over $60,000. And we have one in April, which we had budgeted for. So we're in good shape with respect to the compensation expenses. All the other operating expenses in good shape as well. In January, we completed the purchase of the Brugger property for a little over $517,000. So that's reflected in all four of these funds. And then I'll just briefly touch on something Mr. Ricky was asking about a bit ago, the unencumbered fund balance. So fund balances are about, before purchase orders, before encumbrances, they're about $28.5 million, which is really roughly about the same as they were a year ago at the end of March. This year, however, we've got some large encumbrances. We've got the water filtration plant improvement project underway, began in June. Right now, currently at the end of March, we have about $6.2 million encumbered for those payments. That's going to get us to through maybe 6, 7 more months, we may have to encumber a little bit more before we get to the end of the year with that project. The other thing that's happened with the advent of the new finance director for the city, she began late December, we now have the ability to set up what's called a blanket purchase order. So we didn't have that ability in the past. A blanket purchase order lets you encumber funds for routine type purchases, supply purchases, rents of different things, materials, just any sort of vendor you're going to have frequent purchases from. So that blanket purchase order, you can set it up where it might cover you for 6 months. If you've got the fund balances to cover it, you might set it up for a 12-month period, and you don't have to go through and set up a PO every time you get a new invoice. Now, blanket purchase orders per the state auditor's office have to be closed at the end of every fiscal year. So at the end of December, or by mid-December, we'll close any remaining blanket POs. By closing them, you just bring those funds back into your unencumbered fund balance. But so right now, again, end of March, we've got $1,675,000 of these blanket POs. We didn't have that last year. So those two items account for the big drop in our unencumbered fund balance when you compare it to a year ago. Is that, Mr. Ricky?
Yeah, I'm learning. You're educating me here.
I'll entertain any questions on that if you'd like. And then I'll give you a little update on the Springbrook conversion.
I have one question, if I could, please, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
All right. One of the second sentence, maybe third sentence in the unencumbered fund balance, it says also fund transfers for debt service purposes made in 25 are $2,156,991 higher than 24. Why is that?
I had City Hall transfer enough money this year to not only cover that first OWDA payment, which is always due on January 2nd, but also it will cover our June general obligation debt service payments. So last year we didn't transfer.
So we're just it's the same thing, but we're just transferring it earlier?
We could, right.
Yeah, okay.
We could have.
I just, you see what I'm saying?
It's a
I would
timing.
think that our debt service is about the same.
It is.
Yes, it actually, I think we actually saw a small decrease
might have
because we
decreased a little
retired
bit.
some debt.
Okay,
at the
but you
last
just
year,
pulled
but-
it into the first quarter this year.
So in June, the city will make a debt service payment for what's called the GO, general obligation debt. So I had them transfer enough money to cover that as well,
Gotcha. So all we're doing is moving it into the first
a
quarter
little bit sooner.
a little sooner. That was, like I say, everything looked good. And then I read that there and I couldn't understand why debt service would go up by that amount. So that's all. Thank you.
Does Mr. Rushman?
Yes, how much geo debt do we still have and when do we expect to retire that?
The GO debt, one of them drops off this year, one of the pieces that's out there. I want to say a couple go on for another 10 to 15 years. And
Yeah, there is one that will be a bond issue that will be retired at the end of this year. So we have, I believe, one more GO payment on that.
Right.
And then there is, I believe, one other bond issue that I want to say it's about 9 years. Everything else, though, on our debt is OWDA.
Right. And we don't expect to take on any more geo going forward.
We do not, and as long as OWDA continues to offer below market rates,
Right.
It just does not make any financial sense to go with bond issues.
Okay, and the reason for that we had in the past heard about how that may affect the credit of the city.
Correct.
So without interfering with that, if we can find other ways. To
Yeah,
finance.
I mean, I will say that the Standard & Poor's, when they look at bond ratings,
Right.
they do take into account the debt, but they will look at our OWDA debt it's 100% funded by revenues of ratepayers. So it is an enterprise fund.
Correct.
So while it may be stated in a bond rating that the enterprise fund has the debt, it's not as impactful as if all of that were listed as a bond issue. Does that make make sense?
Yes.
And I'm not sure how they factor that OWDA debt against what your debt capacity is.
Sure.
It goes against your total debt, but it doesn't have that same weighting as a GO issue would. And because of the lower rates and because of the backing state of Ohio.
Yeah, and I mean, quite frankly, the state revolving loan fund is funded by the funding comes from the federal government. And then they sell bonds. If there's interest rates out there, they sell bonds to fund these loans to us. But that's all on them, on OWDA. Again, the loan process is so much more straightforward. There's no bond counsel requirements. The costs associated with a bond issue are way more than what it is on a loan origination fee.
Okay.
Any other questions? Mr. Ricky, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. I jumped to the last page because it's easier for me to understand. It's all the summary of all the other pages, it looks like, pretty much.
Page,
11 and 12.
yes, the fund balances.
Yeah, I guess my question is, we created 722 and 723, okay? We've gone through one quarter. Are you feeling that the way we've distributed the money into those funds is okay? You're feeling as the bean counter here, are we gonna have to tweak how the revenue is put into each of those funds? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. man.
We kind of started with a number we thought was pretty good.
We based it on actual 2023. We've obviously got 2024 now that we can kind of compare to, and it's close with how we allocated the expenses and the revenues. I know the 722 fund is showing a pretty large negative
Well,
balance.
that's what drove me to that question.
I'm pretty sure that that's going to gradually get to be a positive. Again, they had like the 723 fund and 701, 721. They all had some of those fund transfers that came out.
Okay,
So some expense has already hit that we won't have as much going forward. The revenues will start to pick up. So I'm keeping an eye on it, but
Okay,
I know
but
what you're saying.
I'm just saying,
I don't think it's time to tweak anything after
Okay.
a quarter. I think we really got to get through
the
the
year.
full cycle, right?
Okay,
The full
well, that's
year.
fine, but that was my question. I know we kind of made a educated guess, but now we're gonna see some real numbers, and I noticed the large negative
Right.
there, and I was wondering if we need to reallocate numbers in such a way to make it so it's gonna be feasible. That's all.
End of June, we'll see how it's doing.
Okay.
But I really think it's going to start to get close to being positive, if not
Okay,
positive
well,
by then. So
That's all. Very good job, by the way. I
Well,
really, I applaud you for this. This is quite a in-depth financial statement that we haven't seen in the past years I've been on the board. This information, we really hadn't seen it in this detail. So I applaud you for your work on all this.
thank you.
We're getting closer, Mr. Ricky,
I know.
having something
You know.
that we can look at.
That's right. I mean, 10 years I've been on the board, and this is really, we're getting there.
Mr. Mondello, anything? Good. I wanted to ask Mr. Logan, do we have a target for what is our unencumbered fund balance? And if not, should we?
We should. And sort
Percentage
of off the
of-
cuff, roughly, it should be enough to cover, I like to say, 6 months of expenses. So in other words, if you had no more revenue coming in, I'd like that unencumbered fund balance to cover the next 6 months of normal operating expenses. The GFOA, Government Finance Officers Association, they put out some statistics each year, and I think they might say 3 months of expenses or 3 months of revenue. I like to look at 6 months. I've sort of put together a forecast going out the next 12 months, and I just kind of keep it rolling. I call it like a rolling forecast. I had one as finance director in my last position. We went out about 10 years with these forecasts, and that was the main thing we would look at, is that unencumbered fund balance. So if your revenue stopped tomorrow, how much money do we have there? How long will it take us? How far will it get us? So that's my thoughts on it.
Mr. Monroe would like to.
I would just add to it that when we hired Raf Tellis a few years ago to do our rate study, and they built our financial model for us. They did an analysis of fund balance, and we had over a year. And they also gave us some benchmarks compared to the nation, compared to other utilities in Ohio, and we were financially well ahead of other utilities. And like Mr. Logan said, GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association, they recommend like 3 months worth of expenses. And that's what we were finding. Most utilities are in that 3 to 6 month of reserves on funds on hand. We were well over a year. So we were in very good shape as far as that goes. There were, as part of that, they did recommend that at a minimum to have 6 months. So that they did outline that in that study.
Right.
So.
Reason I always talk about that, and you'll recall Mr. Logan, we've enjoyed in this country a fairly stable currency, but like, should that change, you don't want to, you might still be selling water, but like you're losing money per gallon, that kind of thing, if there was a sudden, spike in inflation or something like that. So it's not for nothing that you keep a balance like that, because in order to keep paying bills and selling water, you have to at least have your head above water from the standpoint of revenue. So, but so far, so good, etc. All right, thank you, Mr. Logan. Anything else from anyone?
I give a little brief Springbrook update.
You may.
Our conversion to Springbrook it's gone well so far. Technically, our live date was March 24th. It was really more like March 17th when we started applying payments into the new system. To answer Mrs. Schnabel's question from earlier, we are going to pay MuniLink through June the normal amount. They base it off the number of customers. So our annual costs with MuniLink have been about $51,000 in that range. After June, we have a deal with MuniLink where, and we can get out of it at any time, a 30-day notice, we'll have read-only access to their data at a cost of $500 per month. So we're thinking we keep that for a little while, see if we need to refer back to it much. We do have quite a bit of history, 10 years roughly, in our Springbrook software. Springbrook annual cost is about $17,000. So we'll start seeing, roughly per year, a $34,000 savings between MuniLink and Springbrook. That's one of the advantages I list with our Springbrook conversion. Just to give you a quick little update, we did the bills this time, as all of you know, out of Springbrook, about 9,000 quarterly bills paid out or mailed out. Springbrook's affiliated payment processor is a company called Express Bill Pay. We've found they're very easy to work with. They're very receptive. There's a few tweaks they still have to make on their website. They are receptive to taking customer phone calls regarding payments and setting up a payment and things like that. Eventually, everybody will see history out there. Right now, it's 1 quarter of history, but they'll have 24 months of history out on the Express Bill Pay site. They are 24/7 year-round as far as answering phone calls. We've had a few complaints from customers of not being able to get through to somebody, but not much. And I don't think the wait has been too long. So we're hopeful that keeps up and they're going to be very good customer service. It's really a more streamlined payment processing system from what I've seen, what we've seen so far. All the third-party billing, which when people use a bank bill pay type service, right now those have been coming in to us through a file. It's kind of difficult to manipulate, upload into your system. Going forward, it takes about 30 days to get all this implemented through Express Bill Pay. Those bank bill pays will go right through Express Bill Pay. And that makes it much easier to handle. It's just another ACH transaction to us coming out of Express Bill Pay. Certain things like that. Still got a couple kinks to get worked out with the lateral loan customers. There's about 260 customers remaining. They were not, those customers who had that lateral loan were not able to see their entire bill yet on express bill pay. So for that reason, we had all the bills mailed. We actually emailed as many lateral loan bills, and quite a few out of the 262, well over half had an email address that we could email their invoice to. So they got their full invoice. This next time with the quarterly, the June billing, they will see their entire bill on express bill pay. And then still working out a couple general ledger distribution nuances, so to speak, with the loans, but we've figured it out. That will be corrected as well with that next quarterly billing. Those are the issues to get worked out, basically. But the advantages, I think it's going to take a little while for the customer service reps and myself and everybody to kind of get accustomed to Springbrook. I was fortunate enough to use Springbrook in Avon, but it was an older version of Springbrook. It's really quite the same now. If anything, this version is really just much more, much easier to use, more appealing as far as the way it looks and everything. So I've got a little bit of experience in it with that, but the billing processes, the payment processes, we're working through all those right now. So.
Okay.
I know for mine, I was gonna say, sorry, I called it, when I got my letter, I went on to sign up.
Yeah.
And I've always done ACH payments, so it said, that's all already taken care of, like it should be a clean transfer. So I called one of the girls because I was at work and I didn't have my account number to finish logging in. And then I noticed on the screen, it said you're not signed up for auto pay, but I have been. And so I said to her, well, I'm not gonna touch this because we're supposed to be. So it was a little confusing that way. And I said, I'll just be a test. And if my bill doesn't get paid, then we'll know that
If
something's.
you've been signed up for auto
Yeah.
pay with us, that will remain.
Yeah.
However, you have the option of going into express bill pay, setting yourself up in there for whatever date. Now the due dates,
Changing.
obviously are always the 20th, but you can set yourself up in there. If your bill gets paid there, we're not going to take it again. In other words, when that bill goes to zero, we're not going to take another payment. So this first time around, we are going to initiate all those automatic ACH payments. We'll put that file through the way we've always done, but through Springbrook on Monday, which is actually the 21st.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have, actually 713, because I was just looking at it. A lot of people have signed up to do auto pay themselves through express bill pay. And they've got dates ranging anywhere from really tomorrow, the 16th, up through the 20th.
And those were people that already were doing it?
Not necessarily.
Oh,
Some
okay.
might be. I don't know for sure.
Because I said to her, should I be signing up again? And she said,
It's
No.
not necessary.
okay, so, and then going forward, it'll just always,
We'll
think
either,
it'll-
we'll either keep initiating it the way we have been, or at the very least, we'll initiate it, but through express bill pay.
all right, so I'll just check with everybody and make sure if it's not the easiest way to do it, that if it needs to be changed, I'll change it
Right, but you should see that debit hit your account.
Monday. Okay.
Anyone else? Mr. Monroe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say that, Mr. Logan, who has taken the lead on this Springbrook conversion since he has been here, working with our customer service staff, all four ladies up there, they put a lot of work into this, a lot of training, a lot of effort. It has not been an easy task, but they have worked together. And I want to thank them for that. We have had, as Mr. Logan said, some kinks, which when you have a conversion of this size, you're going to have those. But we are working those out, and as they create their standard operating procedures moving forward. But I want to thank them and recognize them for it.
Thank you, Mr. Monroe. I second your sentiment. I think the addition to Mr. Logan on the staff helps us further our objective of quality, which includes running a tight ship. Every employee is part of running a tight ship, but there's one guy that makes sure that we haven't sprung any leaks, no spring books or anything like that. So we appreciate the work that you're doing. And, while some might think that it's expensive to run a tight ship, I think most of us would agree it's even more expensive to run a leaky ship. So that's a good thing.
Thank
So
you,
thank
Mr.
you again.
Chairman.
All right. Mr. Urinich's favorite part of the meeting is about to ensue. Project updates, Mr. Urinich. Hopefully, lots of pictures and accounts and descriptions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the power plant update, Avon Lake Environmental Redevelopment Group, ALERG, they're still continuing with the debris cleanup, both from the implosion and their focus in the recent weeks inside the administration building and the facade that's left along Lake Road. They've been going through, removing papers, everything. They want to make sure as much can be cleaned out of there, not environmental hazards, just more of a pollution hazard, the papers and everything. They want to get all of that out before they continue with bringing that down. Everything's still in place for them to cut and cap their water and sewer connections, complying with their demolition permit. So they'll be in contact with us when they get ready to do that so we can observe and close that out. Any questions on that project?
I think maybe the last meeting you indicated that there was yet to be another, shall we say, final demolition. And do you know when that's scheduled for?
Once they get the administration building cleaned up, but that's going to be basically just a reach and grab with their excavators. There's not going to be any more implosions. It'll all be just, I guess, more of a controlled minor demolition of that remaining structure.
Okay. Questions on that? All right, let's go on to the design services for ETL. Not related to the other work on the railroad, but
Correct. The easement acquisition continues, and they're still working, finalizing the permitting process with Norfolk and Southern and Rail Pros at the crossing. So they're making progress, but that is a very time-consuming process.
any idea when the actual work will occur?
No.
Not at this time. I know that Attorney Carr, she has, received several phone calls regarding the easements. And there's a few that we're going to be working through here real shortly. But the other component of this is the updated cooperative agreements between the ETL customers to account for the construction. And we will have to come to agreement with them. We will have a consortium meeting in May that we will present them with a draft of the updated agreements. So that's going to coincide with these easement acquisitions, that hopefully the timing on both of those is right. As we know, in the past, there was sometimes issues with projects where easements weren't properly acquired.
Located or?
And we want to make sure that that is not the case.
Mhm. That's a good idea. The railroad is not going to easily move its alignment. Mr. Logan, related, so we know that some project like that is coming up. How is that accounted for in terms of encumbering money?
Well, we won't encumber any money until we know what we're encumbering, until we have solid project costs. So, I mean, quite honestly, there's some engineering work in the budget for the ETL design and the project upcoming, but no construction cost budget just yet. That could be an appropriation if it happens this year in those ETL funds, which is, as Mr. Monroe said, part of that consortium. So we won't encumber. I mean, we've encumbered some engineering monies, but not anything related to construction yet.
So it might go to next year? Is that
Yes, realistically, when we actually would encumber, those costs, it's most likely going to be in next year.
And then you'll budget for it.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Logan, Mr. Monroe. Mr. Urinich, you may proceed with. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. So any guesstimate on when this will kick off?
Would say we would have word from the insurance or TechWin within a couple of weeks of how we're going to resolve that. They were going to be working on, I guess, a plan of if we are going to be doing the repairs, if they were going to contract that. They obviously want to get everything in place before they would schedule their visit. So
Right.
we'll
Coming
definitely
halfway around the world.
provide an update as soon as we get it.
It's my understanding that Mr. Monroe wants to have a major whoop-de-whoop about, the startup. So I'd be curious to know when that is so I can plan to attend.
We will communicate that as we know more, but we are hoping that the system will be up and running in May.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Urinich before we move on? All right, let's go on to CUE report, Mr. Monroe.
First, Mr. Yernich does have one item to report on. He'll start out.
I'm tired of hearing.
Most people are. Last night, Mr. Rush and myself attended the civil service meeting proceeding with the job descriptions that were approved at the last meeting. Following that process, they first need to be approved by the Civil Service Commission, moving on to the HR committee, and then they would be presented and approved before the council as a whole. They really did not have any questions or concerns for us. So that is proceeding. I believe they were going to have a reading. Was it the second reading that they plan on?
Yes. Mr. Rush and I attended the HR committee meeting following. Mr. Urnich and I were kind of tag teaming things last night, but the job descriptions and the salary ranges for non-bargaining employees that the board approved, those will be for first reading on April 28th. And then council indicated last night that they would look to pass those on second reading.
Okay.
Mr. Rush, I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, that sounds exactly what the plan was.
Okay, thank you all for that. Do you have any more CUE reporting?
I do have a few items, and if you will. There's that, and there's that. Nope, wrong one. Sorry, we have a new system this evening, and we're trying to get that. So I wanted to report on my trip to Washington, D.C. from last week. If you recall, I am the vice chair of the Ohio American Water Works Association, the Water Utility Council. So every year we, during Water Week, we have representatives from all, normally all 50 states. We did only have 48 states represented this year, but I spent a few days in DC, and as my in my role as the vice chair is to represent all water utilities in the state of Ohio. So we work with the national office, and we work on these items that are important to us. And on the screen right now, you have the 4 bullet points were this year's topics. And I'll just give a brief description on them. The polluter pays for PFAS. As we know, we have PFAS regulations that have come down from the US EPA that are going to take effect in the next couple of years on our water. But what this has to do with is this has to do with the wastewater side, because as we are basically a passive receiver. We at a water plant, we do not generate PFAS. We're not a company that made PFAS. We're taking our source water in, and the PFAS is there. We know it is because we've done some baseline testing. We do know on the finished water we have non-detects because our treatment process is doing what it's doing. But those residuals from the water plant have to go over to the wastewater plant for treatment. So what this topic is there's currently a bill in the House that we're looking to have an exemption from CERCLA. CERCLA has to do with Superfunds because PFAS is a hazardous substance. So we do not want to be held accountable for disposing of these residuals from our water plant at the wastewater plant, and then in turn at a landfill under CERCLA. So we're asking for an exemption. I will tell you that the legislators I met with are very much in support of that, because they understand if we are held accountable, that translates into rates for our ratepayers increasing. Makes sense. So it's a very important topic. It's been a topic of ours for the last several years. The next topic is water affordability. This was really a pandemic era program that was piloted to offer low income utilities that have a very high low income customer base, an affordability program. It expired. And so that, again, from a national perspective, this is something that they were advocating to find a way to fund that on a permanent basis. Infrastructure investment. very, very important for us, and this has to go to the point of the state revolving loan funds. For the last 4 years under the previous administration, they brought back congressionally directed spending, earmarks, where members of Congress, and they can hand out for projects, they can hand out money at their discretion. That money comes from a pot, and that pot is the state revolving loan funds. So for the last 4 years, the state revolving loan funds have not been fully funded to the amount that was authorized. So we, as we talked earlier during our finances, that's a very, very large portion of how we finance our projects at very low interest and zero interest rates. And that translates into saving millions of dollars for our ratepayers. So it is very important that they continue to fund the state revolving loan funds. And again, the legislators I met with, they are fully in support of we're not opposed to the congressionally directed spending. They need to figure out a different pot of money to pull those funds from. So again, very, very important. And the last topic, the cybersecurity, something that we talk about often at our utility when we talk about our IT, and we talk about our OT. I did meet with, had some face-to-face meetings with, these legislators. Senator Marino spent about 25 minutes with our group, was very engaged. Did find out that he is downsizing his personal residence and will be a resident in one of the communities that is a user of our water. So very thankful for what we do, and had some great dialogue regarding our initiatives. But when we talk about cybersecurity, probably the best meeting we had was with Congressman Latta. He covers the 5th congressional district, basically along the lakeshore from here to Toledo. Has been in Congress 18 years. Something I learned about him during our discussion, though, is back in the 90s, he was a county commissioner in Wood County. And he, during his second term as a county commissioner, regionalized the sewer and the water. He has a very deep understanding of how important the water in the sanitary sewer infrastructure is for economic development. But we had a very good conversation related to cybersecurity. And he also is very familiar with our TechWin project. And he spoke with, I guess, last month with some representatives from Cleveland Water Alliance on some of their issues. But he is very interested in the project and what it can mean for not just our utility, but Northeast Ohio. And so he would like to, if schedule will allow, he would like to come out here for our event when that system is up and running. And I will keep in contact with him. So again, they were very good meetings. This was just a picture here with Congressman Latta, myself, and two of my colleagues from Delco Water, which is Delaware County.
US 36.
Yes, down towards Columbus. And that's standing next to me on my right is Glenn Marsliff. He is the CEO for Delco Water, and to his right is Jeff Kaufman, is their regulatory and compliance director. So again, had a very good meeting with Representative Latta. That particular day, there were 26 bills that were up for vote. So for him to take the time that he did, over a half an hour to spend with us and talk about our issues, we were thankful for that. It doesn't happen too often that you actually get the congressman or woman or senator. And then this is our Water Utility Council from Ohio with Senator Marino. So again, it was a very, very positive trip, well worth the time spent there. And we look forward to continuing our dialogue with our legislators.
Is that Joe Waldecker on the rail picture?
No, that is not. That is Blake. He is from the city of Delaware, down by Delco Water. They run a system down there. So, but representatives from Southwest Water, down by Dayton, Cincinnati Metropolitan Water, couple representatives from Cleveland Water and Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, and City of Akron. So this was the largest group we had, the most number of attendees from Ohio. We did have 2 young professionals that we sponsored this year, the Ohio section sponsored, to get younger professionals engaged in what we're doing, so that we're bringing along that next generation. That is all I have.
Okay, any questions for the chief here? Okay, that brings us back to time for public speakers. Mr. Urinich,
I do not have any comments, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dewar, I got your name now. Welcome. If you have anything you'd like to say.
No comments, just a member of the board suggested I come and observe. Sorry for barging in, it's my first time. Didn't know it's right as I walked in the door. So.
No.
Well, thank you for, visiting, and we look forward to seeing you again. With no public speakers at this time, we do have a motion to go into executive session to discuss pending or imminent court action, and no expectation of formal action by the board following the executive session. So would someone like to make the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to meet an executive session as allowed by Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22 G3 to discuss pending or imminent court action and to include the CUE, the CUO, the business and financial coordinator, and a representative from Mazur Gavin.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Ricky. This will be a roll call vote. Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Schnabel?
Yes.
Mr. Mondello?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Chairman votes yes. We will go into executive session when the room is cleared. Thank you, everyone, for attending and or watching, and we will see you, I believe, in 3 weeks,
Yes.
on May the 5th, I believe.
It will be on May the 6th.
May the 6th. So mark your calendars, and we'll see you then. And thanks, everyone.